I'm Rabbi David Ben Eliyahu. I'm 60 years old, and what I'm about to tell you in the next few minutes could be the most important financial warning you ever receive. Not from a bank, not from an investor, not from a business school, from a 3,000-year-old spiritual law that most people violate every single day without knowing it. There are three things you must never tell anyone if you want to keep what God is building in your life. Not your friends, not your family, not your social media followers, not even your spouse in certain cases. And I'm going to tell you exactly what those three things are, why they work, and what happens when you break the rule, because I broke it. For nearly a decade I kept breaking it, and it cost me more than I want to admit. Before we go any further, if you've been working hard, building something, believing for a financial breakthrough, and somehow things keep collapsing right before they land, comment right now, "I accept my wealth." Type it right now, because what I'm about to teach you may explain exactly why your blessings keep disappearing before they arrive. Let me tell you what happened. I wasn't always careful with my words, and you should understand. For a rabbi, that is a serious admission. We study the power of language. We know that God created the world through speech. We know words carry weight. And yet for years, I behaved as though I was exempt from that law. You see, I was raised in Brooklyn in a home where we celebrated openly. When something good happened, you shared it. You gathered people. You announced. And I believed, genuinely believed, that sharing a blessing was an act of gratitude, that speaking your dreams out loud was an act of faith. I was wrong. Here's the thing. I didn't know it then. I was in my late 40s, building momentum in my financial education work, and I had started a business partnership with a man I trusted. His name was Daniel. Smart man. Committed man. We had real plans, real projections, and I was excited. Now at that time, I had a habit. Anytime something good was developing in my life, I talked about it. I shared it. I believed transparency was virtue. So one Thursday evening, I stood in front of a gathering, maybe 40 people, community members, people who knew me, and I shared everything. The partnership, the projections, the plan, the income targets for the first year. I was specific. I was detailed. And when I finished, everyone applauded. I felt invincible. I remember driving home that night thinking, this is it. This is where things change. I had spoken it out loud. I had declared it before witnesses. In my mind, that made it more real. That was a Thursday. By the following month, everything had changed. Daniel started pulling back. It was subtle at first. A meeting rescheduled. An email that took 3 days to return. Then it became more obvious. He stopped pushing forward. The warmth between us cooled. I tried to have direct conversations. He gave me careful answers that said nothing. Within 3 months, the partnership was finished. No fight. No clear reason. Just gone. I was confused. I replayed every conversation. Was there a misunderstanding? Did I say something wrong? Did I move too fast? I had no clean answer. So I did what many of us do. I moved on. I found another opportunity. I kept building, and I made the same mistake again. It was a Shabbat dinner. I had been working on a real estate arrangement, a strong deal, good numbers, good location. And sitting at that table, surrounded by people I loved and trusted, I shared it. I described the property. I gave the projected returns. I told them the timeline. Everyone at that table was happy for me. I could feel it. They toasted me. They said encouraging things. That deal never closed. The buyer backed out. A legal detail surfaced that no one had anticipated. The timing collapsed. It was one of those situations where everything that could go wrong did, quietly, without drama, and completely. I was frustrated, more than frustrated. I was starting to feel a strange kind of fear. Not panic, but the kind of quiet fear that comes when you suspect something is wrong, but you don't yet understand what. And then I sat down one afternoon and did something I had been avoiding. I looked back, not just at those two situations. I looked back across an entire decade, and I started to notice a pattern that made my hands go cold. Every significant loss I had experienced in business, every partnership that fell apart, every deal that stalled, every financial breakthrough that arrived at the door and then disappeared, had been preceded by a public announcement. Income targets I had shared with friends over dinner. Plans I had spoken about before they were complete. Blessings and breakthroughs I had posted about, celebrated openly, described in detail to people whose reactions I had no way to control. A decade. I had been doing this for a decade. I want to be very clear about what I felt in that moment. I wasn't angry. I wasn't in despair. I was simply struck, like something had been right in front of me the whole time, and I had been walking past it every single day. I called my mentor. His name is Rabbi Stern. He is 90 years old. He has more wisdom in one sentence than most people carry in a lifetime. I told him everything. I laid out the pattern. I described the partnership, the real estate deal, the decade of losses that followed announcements. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, and I will never forget this, he said, "David, you keep opening the door and inviting the darkness in." That was all. I asked him to explain. And what he told me next changed the way I have lived ever since. He said, "The evil eye, ayin hara, is not a fairy tale. It is not superstition for uneducated people. It is spiritual physics. When you announce what God is building before it is complete, you expose it, not only to the negative attention of others, though that is real, but to your own ego. You have taken something that was growing in protected silence and dragged it into the open before it was ready. And many things die in that exposure." He told me that even people who love you, genuinely love you, carry unconscious reactions to your success. Envy is not always malicious. Sometimes it is involuntary. A small thought, a flicker of comparison. Why him and not me? That thought carries energy. And when you have broadcast your blessing to 40 people, you have invited 40 different energy fields into contact with something fragile. He told me there are 3 things, specifically 3, that a person must guard with silence if they want to protect what God is building in their life. The first, your financial goals before they are achieved, not after, before. The moment you announce a target, a number, a milestone, an income goal, you have transferred it from the spiritual realm, where it was protected, into the social realm, where it becomes subject to the opinions, doubts, and energy of others. Speak it when it is done, not before. The second, your plans before they are complete. This is different from goals. Plans are the specific steps you are taking, the deal you are working on, the business you are building, the investment you are making. These are not yours to announce. They are moving. They are alive. And like a newborn, they need quiet and warmth before they can withstand the cold air of public attention. The third, your private blessings. The things God has done in your life that are personal. Your health improving, your finances beginning to shift, a relationship being restored. These are not content. These are not posts. These are sacred. And the moment you perform them for an audience, you have traded the blessing for the applause. You cannot have both. I sat with those 3 rules for a long time after that conversation. And then I made a decision. I stopped announcing. I stopped performing my progress. I stopped sharing my targets at dinners. I stopped posting milestones before they were fully landed. I worked in silence. I planned in silence. I let things develop without broadcasting them. And I want to tell you what happened next, because this is the part that matters. Within 3 months, a deal closed that had been stalled for nearly a year. I had not talked about it to anyone. I had worked it quietly, privately, with discipline. It closed. Within 6 months, a financial arrangement I'd been building came through cleanly. No last-minute complications, no strange reversals, no inexplicable collapses. It landed exactly the way it was supposed to. Within a year, the shift in my finances was undeniable. Not dramatic, not overnight, but steady, clean, and consistent in a way my previous decade had not been. Now, was every good thing that happened to me in that year purely because I stopped talking? I cannot prove that. I am not offering you magic. I am offering you pattern recognition from a man who has studied this for 60 years and lived the consequences personally. Here is what I understand now, and I want you to hear this carefully. Silence is not secrecy. Silence is protection. There is a difference. Secrecy comes from shame or deception. Silence comes from wisdom. When you choose not to announce what God is building in your life, you are not hiding. You are guarding. You are being a responsible steward of something that has not yet arrived. The ancient sages understood that words create reality, but they also understood that premature words can destroy what is being created. A building under construction has scaffolding around it. You do not remove the scaffolding while the walls are still going up. Your dreams, your plans, your financial breakthroughs, they are under construction. Leave the scaffolding in place until the work is done. Let me speak directly to you now. If you are watching this and you have been struggling financially, if you have been working hard, believing, planning, and yet somehow things keep collapsing right before they complete, I want you to ask yourself one honest question. How much have you been talking about what you are building? How many dinners have you described your plan at? How many people know your income targets? How many times have you posted about a breakthrough before it was fully in your hands? I am not blaming you. I am describing myself at 48 years old. I am describing a pattern I lived for a decade before I understood it. And I am telling you, you still have time. This is not about what you lost. This is about what you protect from this moment forward. The 3 rules are simple. Do not speak your financial goals before they are achieved. Do not speak your plans before they are complete. Do not perform your private blessings for public applause. That is it. 3 rules: ancient, tested, real. Guard what God is building. Work in silence. Let your results speak when they arrive. Fully formed, fully landed, fully yours. My name is Rabbi David Ben Eliyahu. I am 60 years old, and I have given you today what took me a decade and a patient 90-year-old mentor to learn. If this teaching meant something to you, I want you to do one thing right now. Type in the comments, "I accept my wealth." That is your declaration. That is your commitment to guard what is being built in your life. Write it, mean it. And if you are not subscribed to this channel yet, do it now and turn on notifications. I share teachings like this regularly, drawn from Jewish wisdom, from decades of counseling, from real patterns I have witnessed in real lives. This is not entertainment. This is instruction. Hit the like button if this reached you. Share this with someone you know who has been working hard and watching things collapse. They need this warning. They deserve to know about this law. There is a form in the description. If you have a story of your own, a time you violated this law without knowing it, or a time the silence protected you, share it. I read these. Your story may become a teaching for someone else. Wealth is built in silence. Guard what is yours, and let it arrive whole. Shalom.